Part 2 with a guy who I knew from the very first night that I was racing at Fulton Speedway. J.R. Kennerup was up in the tower doing scoring and handicapping, and of course he is still doing that today. He's been in racing 47 years. I've been in 33, so between the two of us, 80 years of experience. We're going to get into this one a little bit different. We're going to take a little more serious tact on exactly where we are right now, because I hear a lot of complaining out there, but I think sometimes maybe we should be praising what's going on a little bit more. J.R. Kennerup is down in the southern tier. How we doing today?
Oh, we're doing very good, Doug.
Good, good. You and I were talking about this, and I think where we got started was both of us worked on the outlaw circuit. And after the 1993 season, Brewerton Speedway, it was Brewerton, Fulton, Utica, Rome, decided to go with dirt. And every employee was pretty much told, you either go with dirt or you stay with us. There's no middle ground. JR stayed with Fulton and Utica. I went with dirt. Those decisions that people like us and even drivers have to make, sometimes you're never going to please everybody, but you have to make that decision yourself, don't you?
Yeah, you do. I mean, you just have to weigh the pros and the cons. You really do. You got to look at the landscape, you know. And for me, I just looked at, how I was going to get treated. And Bob Benway and Eric Kingsley and Giselle Kingsley and Marsh Wetmore, they treated me like royalty.
Same here.
And so that's the reason why I went there,
Mm-hmm.
you know. That's the reason why I stuck there. At that time, I was writing too, and I wasn't in the on the good side of dirt at the time. But
Okay.
you know, there's choices that you make. You know, we all have choices every day in life. But you know, like I said, I think it's turned out well for me. You know, we all look back on things that, well, we should have did it this way, and we didn't. You know, but there's nothing you can do about that.
Nope. And I wanted to do Super Dirt Week. I wanted to do this week on dirt. There were more tracks, so I made the decision to go dirt, not because of anything negative that was going on at Fulton and Utica Rome. It's just I figured I could expand my horizons, is basically. But the drivers do the same type of thing. We were talking about, do I get a big block? Do I get a big small block? Do I get a 358? They're all making those decisions right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. It is tough. I mean, there's a few guys that went the sportsman, the 358 route. Now they're moving to big block, and it's all because of availability of parts and cost.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. But it's like for everybody, you got to make a choice.
You do.
Fans, racetracks, cars. You gotta. It's one of the things, and sometimes you make the right choice, and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
And that's just how racing goes sometimes.
It really is. And the other thing you and I really agreed on, because unfortunately, if you go to forums and you go even going on Facebook or something, there's so much negativity out. But you pointed out to me, and I agreed with you 100%, how good we really got it, especially when you consider the shortages and things that came up. I'm amazed we got through this last season like we did.
Yep. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, like we were talking. Who would have thunk it back, when you first started, that we'd be talking about a late model guy winning $2 million
Yeah, really.
in purses during the year that Jonathan Davenport did.
Yeah.
Or a dirt modified guy in Matt Shepard winning over $700,000.
That's almost $750,000. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy. Who would have thunk that?
Yeah. I'm sure it took $200,000-300,000 to do it, but, still.
Oh, it probably, to be honest with you, Doug, it probably took closer to 4.
Really? You think so? Okay.
Yeah. Because I know a lot of people on that team, and I know the one big race he won pretty good money. The next morning, that whole money went for a brand new motor.
Mm-hmm.
So it's but yeah, right now racing is really good. The sponsors have stepped up, the tracks have stepped up, the sanctioning bodies have stepped up, and the people need to realize that hey, we're having it good right now, and let's get out and support your local racetrack instead of sitting home behind the computer bitching about any little thing from high price concessions to dust.
Yes. Yes. It's true.
That doesn't help anybody. It doesn't.
No. And when you look at these shortages, I thought we were going to have not even going to have tires for a good part of the year. Steering boxes. Look how much even just the fluids and fuel and everything like that went up. I really don't know how they do it.
Well, I think, to be honest with you, I think people had money. especially after the COVID, where hardly anybody raced. And then the year after COVID, everybody had money, and then people still had money this year. But now with the increased cost of everything, and those prices haven't gone down,
they're not gonna.
It's. I think you'll see it this year. You'll see it hit this year. You start seeing it at the end of last year, where guys just said, "I'm calling it a year. I just can't afford this anymore." And I think we're going to see more of that this year. I think we're going to see, we're going to see selective guys running selective, and that's it. I really do.
Yeah. They're either going to tour or race weekly. They're not going to do both.
Right.
Of course, one thing we do still see, and I saw a lot more of this before, you start running 2 tracks, and you kind of wait to see which one you're doing better at. I saw people bowing out of that second track a little earlier this year.
Yep. Oh, yeah, we did that. And great story on that is Matt DiLorenzo. That was his original plan. He was going to run Albany-Saratoga weekly, and he set June 1st as a deadline. And at June 1st, he was leading the points at Fonda and Albany-Saratoga. So what did he end up doing? He ran both places and won both track championships. So with the same car, with a big block, I mean, that was kudos to him.
Yes.
I mean, but yeah, it's a lot. And even he told me when I talked to him in September, he goes, about wore him out.
I'll bet. I'll bet. Didn't see a lot of them in the postseason. I wonder if that was why. Something else you brought up that I didn't even think about. Flow Racing, is what's happening with contracts there?
Well, the contracts for Flow Racing are up next year at several central Pennsylvania tracks. And I've heard through the grapevine that the tracks are going to try to negotiate with Flow about instituting a blackout, say a 100-mile blackout, because I actually had Wayne Harper, who's the announcer at Lincoln, told me, he said one of the worst things he hates to see on a nightly basis is someone text in a message, "Hey, can you give a shout out to Joe Smith?" And he lives right down the road. Here's a person
Joe
that should be supporting. Right, he should be supporting the racetrack. And I understand the circumstances. You have weather and things like that, but you know something? If you live within 100 miles of a racetrack, you shouldn't be able to watch the racing live, because racetracks struggle, and they're struggling. They really are.
They are. It's not like what people think.
And a lot of nights, what is sold at the concession stand is the make or break of the night.
Mm-hmm.
And these people staying home and watching on Flow, and Flow's making a ton of money. You look at all the things that they're sponsoring and everything. I think they need to give in a little bit. I think they need to institute a blackout. And I think, to be honest with you, Flow would probably pick up more racetracks to do business with if they institute a blackout policy. Mm-hmm. I really do.
About a minute and a half left. Because streaming, let's be honest, is a double-edged sword.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. I've had people, neighbors of mine, they love the races. They don't go as much as they used to. They go, I just pay $150. I'm sitting here watching it on Flow.
You know what else I saw, JR? I saw at I almost said Syracuse, Super Dirt Week, I saw a lot of people sitting at their campers watching Dirt Vision. They didn't get anywhere near the racetrack all week long, which is another interesting thing. So. Yep.
And they probably didn't buy a ticket. They just bought their camping permit. That was it.
Right, because the camping permit allows you into the pit area anyway. So it is really a unique situation at this point. 30 seconds left or so. I think sometimes we forget. We really need to be very thankful right now, don't we?
Yes, we do. We have to. I mean, we're in a really good stage of racing right now, and we need to support it. Not by buying Flow, but we need to get to the racetracks and support the racetracks.
Yep. If you see a lot of Burger King wrappers in the parking lot and your food's either too expensive or not good enough. So, JR, you have yourself a happy new year here, and I hope to do this again real soon with you. Thank you very much for taking time with me.
You're welcome, Doug. Take care.
Hit that blue E, subscribe, all that good stuff, and that way you'll know every time something cool is happening.